Hello again. We're going to wrap up our discussion of Rome today, starting with the poetry of Catullus, which is the only um, literature reading for today. Hope you looked at the PowerPoint on Roman art. You will need to know the difference between Hellenic, Hellenistic, and Roman styles in sculpture and architecture for your midterm exam, as well as some of the examples of each. But I want to look at the poems of Catullus. They're about a love affair that he had. We think we know with the woman what her real name was. He calls her Lesbia, which is not her real name. She was married, so you wouldn't want to use her real name in something published. Let's start with poem 5. Now, I don't know that these are arranged in any order in the collection that numbers them. I've put them in an order that I think reflects the course of the relationship from beginning to end. The first one, poem 5. Let us live, my Lesbia, and let us love. And let us value all the rumors of rather severe old men as one penny. What can you buy for a penny? Not going to pay attention to what other people say. Suns are able to set and return. The sun sets tonight, it comes up the next morning. Once our brief light sets, we must sleep one perpetual night. We're not like the sun. We don't come back up once our brief light sets, meaning, of course, death. So give me 1,000 kisses, then 100, then 1,000 others, a second 100, then on continuously into 1,000 others, then 100. Then when we've counted up many thousands, we'll mix them up, lest we know that number, or any evil one is able to envy us when he knows how many kisses there were. The point of the poem is a rather common theme in love poetry. Carpe diem, seize the day. Let's make love now while we can, because when we die it's too late. In poem 2, I suspect the sparrow doesn't have feathers and isn't really a bird at all. See if you get that impression. Sparrow, darling of my girl, with whom she plays, whom she holds to her body, to whom she's in the habit of giving the tip of her finger as it pecks, and stir you to bite her sharply, when she is gleaming with longing for me and wants to do some unspecified fooling about. She can enjoy a little solace for her pain, I believe, that then her heavy passion may be satisfied. To be able to play with you like the mistress and raise up the sad passions of my heart is as welcome to me as they say the fast girl found the golden apple, which undid her girdle, that means a belt, that had been tied for a long time. Any idea what the sparrow actually is? That she likes to play with, hold next to her body, tease with the tip of her finger. Yeah, I think it's something that she doesn't have, so she likes to play with his. I'm not going to look at all of them here, but poem 87. No woman has ever been loved the way that he loves Lesbia. It's a kind of a starry-eyed falling in love. But things begin to get turned sour. Poem 83. Lesbia says many hard things to me in the presence of her husband, a great joy to the fool. Dull mule, you understand nothing. If she forgot me and were silent, she would be heart-whole. But as it is, her snarling and railing means this. She not only remembers a much more serious thing, she's angry. That is, she burns, and so she talks. he thinks that she's snapping at him in with her husband present to hide what they've been doing, and that means she still has feelings for him, but there could be another explanation. Poem 70. My woman says that she prefers to be married to no one than me, not even if Jupiter himself should seek her. She says that. But what a woman says to her passionate lover, she ought to write on the wind and swift-flowing water. How long would writing last if you wrote on the wind or fast-flowing water? Meaning you can't trust what she says. Things continued to deteriorate. Poem 72. Once you used to say you knew only Catullus, Lesbia, that you did not want to embrace Jupiter instead of me. I loved you then not just as a common man loves a girl, but as a father loves his sons and sons-in-law. Meaning it was a love beyond the purely sexual. Now I've got to know you, therefore, although I burn more earnestly, to me you are nevertheless much cheaper and more fickle. How is that possible, you say? Because a hurt like this forces a lover to love more but to like less. The relationship seems to have deteriorated into the purely sexual. And the last one I gave you, poem 58, is written as if it's to another of Lesbia's lovers, a man named Catullus. O Catullus, my Lesbia, that Lesbia whom alone Catullus loved more than himself and all his own, now in the crossroads and alleys peals the descendants of lordly-minded Remus. Now the footnote explains, if you don't know, Remus and Romulus, his brothers, were supposedly the legendary founders of Rome. So the descendants of Remus would be all the Romans. What kind of woman is working in the crossroads and alleys, peeling the descendants of lordly-minded Remus? You know, when she was doing it with him, it was love. Now she's doing it with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. She's a hoe. And so in Catullus' poetry, we can see a love affair from starry-eyed falling in love to breakdown in relationship to ultimately angry breakup. Now, I didn't ask you to read a Roman play, but I want to talk about Roman theater. The Romans preferred comedy to tragedy, and they liked a different kind of comedy than the Hellenic era. You know, we read Lysistrata, which is an example of what's called old comedy, which is a comedy that is funny but has a serious message to it. You know, the Romans, when they went to the theater, they wanted just to relax. You know, all this suppressing your emotions as taught by the Roman code and by Stoic philosophy is hard work. And so they wanted something lighter, something that was pure entertainment. I mean, there is no message to Roman comedy. An example I wanted to give you was a play by Plautus called The Brothers Menaechmus. Now, the story is about two identical twin brothers. And the fact that they're identical twins is important to the action. One of them is kidnapped into slavery as a young boy. And when his brother, gets old enough that he's a little bit financially stable, he sets out to find his twin brother who was kidnapped. And in the play, he shows up in the town where the kidnapped brother was taken. And he's actually wound up doing quite well. His owner had no children and so adopted him. And so he's now actually pretty well off. He runs a business. He has a wife. He also has a mistress on the side whose name is Eratium. Now, one of the things in Roman comedy is stock characters. Eratium is, as you might expect, a prostitute. He has a so-called friend whose name is the Latin word for sponge, because he has a way of showing up just at dinner time to sponge a meal off of this twin brother. Well, the twin brother from out of town shows up in this city where, although he doesn't know it, this is where his twin brother now lives. And he can't figure out why everybody thinks they know who he is, because it just so happens that he is wearing exactly the same outfit as the brother who lives here. Okay, it's called an idiot plot, meaning everybody in the story has to be an idiot not to be able to figure out what's going on. But the mistress takes him into the house for some breakfast and some horizontal refreshment. The wife catches him in the street and is raising hell because her favorite dress is missing, and she just spotted it on the girlfriend who lives next door, and has put two and two together. Guys, I would not recommend you cheat on your woman, but if you're going to, may I suggest the next door neighbor is not your smartest choice. The brother from out of town gets drunk. His slave actually has to take care of the money for him because he's too irresponsible. That's another feature of Roman comedy. It's considered funny that the slaves are smarter than the owners, when of course it should be. You would think the other way around. And on it goes. And nobody in the play can figure out what's happening. And it's all based on the fact that we have these two identical twins who just happen to be wearing exactly the same outfit, so nobody can tell them apart. The message? There isn't one. It's just mindless entertainment to take your mind off of your work and your problems. It's the ancient equivalent of a TV sitcom. Every sitcom has basically the same characters in it. And there is no plot. It's just stupid. But that was the Roman taste in comedy. Now, if you haven't already, look at the PowerPoint on Roman art. Note the practical political purposes that it discusses. And remember, one of the things you need to do on your middle of semester opportunity to excel is to identify and distinguish the Hellenic, Hellenistic, and Roman styles in sculpture and architecture. And that comes from those PowerPoints. So you need to know them. I'm going to give you a video about Roman sports and the kind of sports they liked. And I want you to look at it thinking again about practical political purposes. You know, the practical political message behind criminals being put to death by having to fight against wild animals in the arena. And they would have they would have an announcement made as to what this person's crime was. And of course, you're meant to think, well, I don't want to do that because I don't want to wind up like this poor son of a. But look at you'll see a little bit of a Spanish bullfight, which is the heir to Roman kind of sports. Watch the crowd's reaction. Think about what sports do in terms of bringing people together who would otherwise be strangers and binding them together in a common cause and giving them a socially safe outlet for their aggressive emotions. Watch the faces of the people during the bullfight. That really gives you a hint as to what the purpose of Roman sports really was.